All right, next category, school and advocacy. All right. How can parents advocate for their child's needs in a school setting? That could be for anything, academic, IEPs, anything. So how can a parent advocate for their child's needs in a school setting?
Oh, I'm still working in a high school. And one of the things that on the employee side of it, sometimes it's overwhelming. But on the parent side, I always tell them, never be afraid to advocate for your kid. If you want to be mama bear and you want to be whatever, never apologize, because this is your baby and this is what's important. And if you don't say it, we don't know. So ask for what you want, when you want it, how you want it. You may not get it, but communicate with the teacher. Say, this is my concern, this is what I see, this is what I'm requesting. But be specific and realistic, right? Because there's going to be a lot of things we can do and a lot of things we can't do. But if you bring it up and say, this is what I need, this is what I see, can we work together? Without accusation would be preferable, then that would be great.
Yeah, and I think definitely believing your child, advocating for them, talking about like what is it that they need to be successful, and working with the teacher, knowing that they're doing the best that they can in this system, depending on the kind of system that they're in and the support that they get. And I really think that listening to your child, keeping a record of things that are going on, and being able to speak on their behalf, and helping your child advocate for themselves as they get older too, so that as they're into junior high and high school, that teaching them how to advocate for themselves as well too. All right, next one. What does ADHD really look like, and how does it show up at home, at school, and with friends? One of my favorites. Okay, I'm going to start. So ADHD, I think people need to understand that there's 3 types. There's ADHD inattentive type, which used to be called ADD, ADHD hyperactive impulsive type, and ADHD combined type. Okay, so ADHD inattentive type is the one where people like squirrel and they can't focus on conversations. They're in la la land. It's often misdiagnosed or missed for a very long time. It often shows up with girls. It looks often like anxiety. The ADHD hyperactive impulsive type typically shows up in boys, but that's the one that gets noticed because they're disruptive, they're interrupting conversations, they're getting out of their seat, they're talking out of turn, they don't know how to take turns in games or interactions. And then the combined type are the 2 of them. And it has to show up in school and at home, or 2 or more settings, and it has to cause significant impairment. So when people say, oh, this is a trend, ADHD is not a trend. It's been around since like 1901. It's been studied for over a century, and it's something that has been well documented. So it is not a trend. So that's kind of like how it shows up. I think one of the biggest things too is that they tend to be about 30% younger than their same age peers developmentally. So they often look about 2 to 3 years younger. So if you have a 13-year-old, maybe they look more like a 10-year-old. And so you're expecting, or a 16-year-old who should be driving, but they more like a 13-year-old, which you probably wouldn't trust a 13-year-old behind the wheel of a car. So being able to understand all that stuff too. So that's kind of like the overall, it's not just an attention disorder, it's a dysregulation disorder, executive functioning dysregulation disorder, right? So all the different executive functions, different ones depending on the child, will look different. So if they have poor organization or poor impulse control, poor attention, all of those kinds of things can show up because it's an executive functioning issue. So how do you all see it showing up at home, at school, with friends? What do you all notice when you work with kids and families?
I think in the toddler age group, I see a lot of, oh, I know. And so it's like you can't get through like a set of instructions, and they think they know. And I always have to say, I know you think you know, but let me finish all the way through. And so I'm really good at using my hands during these sessions because they're also a cue to kind of help them slow down. But I see a lot of, I know. Impulsivity, reactive, struggles with emotional regulation, body engine struggles. They have a hard time sitting, having friends. They either want to over control or play alone.
I also noticed that they wet the bed longer than other kids. because of the dysregulation issue, right? I think people need to remember it's dysregulation of all their systems. So they tend to wet the bed later than other kids.
Right, and sometimes it'll happen during the middle of the day. It's not only at night. It can happen during playtime, not wanting to stop playing.
Right.
And I think for some of them that I've worked with, they feel like, what's wrong with me? Because they're like, my friends can sit and do this, and not all of them, but they're like, they know something's different. Like they're processing, or it takes them longer to do something, or they have more struggles, and so then they feel like something's wrong, but they don't have the words to describe. They're just, I can't do that. And then it can show up in friendships because they don't know how to maintain them or communicate, how maybe a peer their age is doing, or because they present younger than the ones who are their age are like, well, you're too young, I don't want to do it. So then they feel at a loss because they're struggling in every aspect. Then often they're getting in trouble for struggling, whether it's at home or at school or at sports or whatever. Or maybe one of those areas they're not struggling, but they are at the other places. So then that gets thrown in their face. Well, you can pay attention at baseball. Why can't you pay attention here? You can pay attention at this. So why can't you do that? And then kind of like they give up, like your kid with the phone. They're like, well, why try?
Well, and then there's also, many of them are unaware. I'll never forget this time we had a team meeting, Dr. Lockhart, and we built a collage of our vision, right? Our vision board. And there was this monster, I can't remember, somebody had, and he was on a swing, and he was like, enjoying his time on the swing, and he was a monster, and all these kids were like kind of running across the street, the picture, and he had no idea he was a monster. And there was this thought bubble, and this person that said, there's some monster around here, but I don't know where it's at, and he was the monster, but he was unaware that he was this monster that was kind of terrorizing the playground. But I think a lot of times there's a lot of strength and niches in these kids who have ADHD. They just haven't found it yet. And I think that's one of the reasons why I do this job. It's because I see the potential in all these kids, but they get caught up in this symptom or this struggle. And I think that's something
And I think that's important to point out that ADHD, although we always see it from a deficit model, but there's a lot of strengths. Like, I think I love working with them so much because they're very creative. They're outside the box thinkers. They're energetic. They're like the life of the party often. They can be very detail oriented depending on where they are in terms of the type of ADHD. So there's a lot of really cool traits about them that I think we need to tap into. And if we can help build their executive function skills, because they are skills, then we can actually help them too.
And then it builds their confidence. Because as their skills build, then they're like, oh, I do have these superpowers. I am able to do all of this, or do it differently. It doesn't have to be your way. I can figure out this, or I can uncover something that no one ever thought of before, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.